Hello everyone, this is the second lecture of this lecture series where we are covering different topics of zoology studied in undergraduate and postgraduate level, and today's topic is species concept. So let's begin. First of all, we must know what is a species. Now, this concept of species was first given by Linnaeus in 1735, and he considered species as an unchangeable unit. That means a species is fixed, it has its own characters, and it cannot be mixed with any other species. Later, Lamarck in 1809 and Darwin in 1859 also put forward their evolutionary thoughts about species. Later, Meyer in 1963 gave the definition of species. According to Meyer, a species is a group of actually or potentially interbreeding natural populations which are morphologically distinct and reproductively isolated from the neighboring natural groups. So here there are three main points. The first point is that a species is actually or potentially interbreeding natural population. That means the members of a species can interbreed with each other. The second point is that they are morphologically distinct and reproductively isolated. The morphologically distinct means they are morphologically different from the members of other species, and reproductively isolated means they cannot interbreed with the members of other species. So these are the 3 points which later gave us the concept of biological species concept. It is called as biological species concept because in this concept only the biological parameters such as interbreeding population, morphological distinctness and reproductive isolation were considered. Next, Simpson gave another definition of species in 1961, and according to this definition, a species is a lineage evolving separately from others and with its own evolutionary role and tendencies. So according to this definition, a species is a lineage that has evolved from its common descendant. For example, here we are seeing an evolutionary tree where all these branches are new lineages. That means all these branches are a new species according to Simpson's definition, and all these species when they have evolved from a descendant, they have their own evolutionary role as well as their own evolutionary tendencies to form new species. So this definition gave us the evolutionary species concept. Later, Christopherson in 1995 proposed that a species is a single lineage of ancestral descendant sexual populations which are genetically integrated by historically contingent events of interbreeding. Now, according to this definition, which is obviously complex, we can break it up and say that a species is a single lineage. That means, again, here the evolutionary part of a species is considered. That means it is a lineage that has evolved from an ancestor, but it is genetically integrated. That means it is genetically different from the other lineages or from the other species, and this distinction of or this genetic distinctness comes due to the event of interbreeding. That means since no two species can interbreed with each other, it makes them genetically distinct or genetically different, and this concept gave us the ontological species concept. Next, we shall study about what are the different types of species. Actually, there are 13 different types of species which we will know now. The first is allopatric species, the second is sympatric species, then parapatric species, sibling species, cryptic species, monotypic species, polytypic species, endemic species, transient species, agamo species, panmictic species, apomictic species, and incipient species. So these are the 13 types of species which we will study in detail now. First, we shall know about allopatric species. The word allopatric comes from two Greek words, allos, which means other, and patris, which means native land. So these allopatric species are two or more related species that have disjunct geographical ranges. That means if two or more related species are staying in two different geographical areas, then they can be considered as allopatric species. A very good example is Indian lion and African lion. The Indian lion is called Panthera leo persica and African lion is called Panthera leo leo. So these are the photos of African lion and Asiatic lion, and they are very good example of allopatric species. Next, we come to sympatric species. The word sympatric comes from Greek word syn, which means with or together. According to sympatric species, two or more species are said to be sympatric when their geographical distributions overlap. That means where they live, their geographical ranges overlap with each other. But though they may segregate in different ecological niches, but that means they live in the same geographical area, in the same geographical range, but their ecological niches are different. So the ecological niche of these two sympatric species are different. An example is a fig frog, that is Rana grylio, and gopher frog, Rana areolata. This is a fig frog and this is Rana areolata or gopher frog. Now these two frogs are they live near wet areas, but this fig frog is aquatic, that means it lives in water, and the gopher frog, it lives in the margins of the swamp areas. So we see that both these frogs stay in the same geographical ranges, but their ecological niches are different. So this is all about sympatric species. Next, we shall study about parapatric species. These are the species which have the geographical ranges, which have the same geographical ranges, but with a very narrow region of overlap. This is the main difference between parapatric and sympatric species. In sympatric species, we saw that the geographical ranges overlap a lot. But in case of parapatric species, the geographical ranges of these two species overlap only in a tiny region. And a very good example is flightless Australian grasshoppers, Muraba scura and Muraba viatica. Next, we will learn about sibling species. It is a bit complex, so let us study in detail. Now, two or more closely related species which are morphologically alike but behaviorally or reproductively isolated from each other are called sibling species. So, two sibling species may look similar, means they are morphologically alike, same, but they behave differently and they are reproductively isolated from each other. As they are reproductively isolated from each other, they are incapable of producing fertile offspring. That means they can interbreed, but they produce infertile hybrids. The examples of sibling species are Drosophila persimilis and Drosophila pseudobscura. Next, we will learn about cryptic species. Now, we shall discuss it in detail because it is very similar to the sibling species. But cryptic species are a bit different from the sibling species. These cryptic species are alike on the basis of the observed features, but are genetically and sexually different. Means again, the cryptic species are morphologically similar or morphologically alike. That means the features that we observe are same or similar, but they are genetically different as well as sexually different. So they are completely incapable of interbreeding. They cannot reproduce, and this is the main difference between cryptic species and sibling species, which comes in exam. So if it comes, we must tell that sibling species can produce offspring, but they are infertile. But cryptic species cannot reproduce, they cannot produce any offspring. An example of cryptic species is African bush elephant and African forest elephant. These are the pictures of African bush elephant and African forest elephant. Here also you can see that they are very alike morphologically, but they cannot reproduce. Next, we will learn about monotypic species. Now, if a genus includes only a single species and does not have any subspecies, it is called a monotypic species. And very good example is Vampyroteuthis. Vampyroteuthis, it is actually a vampire squid which contains only a single species, that is Vampyroteuthis infernalis, and this is the image of Vampyroteuthis infernalis. Next is polytypic species. Now, if a species has more than has two or more than two subspecies, then it is called polytypic species. The examples of polytypic species are Indian tiger, Chinese tiger, Siberian tiger, and Javan tiger. Now, all these four are the subspecies of tiger. The Indian tiger is called Panthera tigris tigris. Here, tigris is the subspecies name. Chinese tiger's scientific name is Panthera tigris amazonensis. Amazonensis is the subspecies name. Siberian tiger is called Panthera tigris altaica, where altaica is the subspecies name, and Javan tiger is called Panthera tigris sondaica. Sondaica is the subspecies name. So these are the examples of polytypic species. Next, we will learn about endemic species. If a species is found in a particular region only, then it is called endemic species. That means it is endemic to that region. Example is lungfish Neoceratotus forsteri, which is found in the Mary and Burnett River of Queensland in Australia. It is found only in that region, so it is called endemic species. Next is transient species. Now these are very contemporaneous species. They can be found in the fossil form, or they can be found at present or recent times, and they are called transient species because they are found at the cross section of the lineages of evolutionary species. That means when a new species is evolving from a descendant, then at the point where the evolution occurs, or the point where the lineage occurs, at that point these transient species occur. Next is agamo species. These agamo species are born of uniparental organisms. That means only one parent is needed to give birth to agamo species. Here, fertilization of the eggs do not take place. They are reproduced by obligatory parthenogenesis, and we find this type of species in bees and wasps. As you know that the worker bees are produced from unfertilized eggs, so this is a good example of agamo species. Next is panmictic species. Now, if a species has a single interbreeding population, then it is called panmictic species. Means the population living within a species are only single interbreeding type. Next is apomictic species. Now, here there is a mixing of gametes because different individuals stay in that population. And the last is incipient species. It is very interesting. This incipient species is actually a natural population which are genetically isolated from the rest of the population of the parent species, and it is due to geographical barrier. But they have not accomplished all the qualities for reproductive isolation from the parent population, which means the incipient species are a part of the parent population which are living in a particular geographical area, but they are not reproductively isolated from the parent species. So these are called the incipient species. So this was all about the 13 different types of species. Next, we shall learn about subspecies. In case of polytypic species, we found that if a species has different subspecies, it is called polytypic species. But what is a subspecies? Linnaeus used this term subspecies when he classified the subgroups of man. For example, American Indians are called Homo sapiens americanus, and Europeans are called Homo sapiens europaeus. So, according to the concept given by Linnaeus about subspecies, we can tell that a subspecies is actually a variety of species. Now, if a species has different varieties, then they are called the subspecies. Now, Grant gave the definition of subspecies in 1960. According to Grant, a subspecies is subspecies are the groups of interbreeding populations with some morphological differences combined with the geographical, ecological, or physiological distinctions which give it species-like distinctness. Which means these subspecies are a part of the interbreeding population of the species, but they have some small morphological differences, which can be due to the geographical distinction, or which can be due to the ecological differences, or which can be due to the physiological differences. And all these differences make them feel like a different species, but since they can interbreed with each other, they are not considered as a totally different species, but actually they are considered as a variety of the species, hence called as subspecies. Next, we shall learn about the different types of species concept, means what were the concepts about species that have been given till date. Now, there are four main species concepts, that are typological species concept, nominalistic species concept, biological species concept, and evolutionary species concept. We will study all of these in detail now. First is typological species concept. Now, according to typological species concept, there are different varieties or diversities of organisms that occur on the surface of Earth, and all these different types or varieties or diversities of organisms can do not have any relationship among them. Means they are very different from each other, and all these types are called as species. Now, this concept was followed by Plato and Aristotle and Linnaeus and his followers, but it was criticized by Simpson and Meyer because it could not explain the sexual dimorphism. Next is nominalistic species concept. According to nominalistic species concept, species are man's own creations. They are not existent in nature. So this concept was proposed by Ockham and believed by his followers Buffon, Messi and Lamarck. But it was criticized by Simpson, Meyer and Rollins because obviously man cannot produce species. The next is biological species concept, which is still followed, and it was proposed by Meyer in 1940, 1942 and 1949, and it was widely accepted. According to biological species concept, the species are groups of actually or potentially interbreeding natural populations which are morphologically distinct and reproductively isolated from the neighboring natural groups. So here there are three main points, as already I have mentioned earlier, that species are potentially interbreeding natural groups. They can interbreed with each other. The members of a species can interbreed with each other. They are morphologically distinct, means a member of a species is morphologically different from member of any other species, and reproductively isolated. That means a species is reproductively isolated or cannot reproduce with a member of any other species. So species can has these three properties, that is, it is a reproductive community, it has its own reproductive isolations, it is an ecological unit, it stays in a particular area, it has its own ecological niche, and it is a genetic unit because it has its own genetic differences which make it different from the other species. But this concept was criticized by Cracraft in 1983 and Donog in 1985 because it still could not explain the morphological differences in sexual dimorphism. For example, you see a male peacock and a female peacock, that is a peacock and a peahen are very different morphologically, but still they are the same species. So biological species concept cannot explain this. Also, we could not explain age difference in the animals or plants. For example, in case of animals, age differences can be seen in the pupa, larva and adult stage of caterpillar or butterfly. So how can these age differences can be explained? Because they are so morphologically different from each other that this larva and pupa and adult can be said as to be different species, but actually they are all same species having different morphological characters in different parts of their life cycle. So again, biological species concept could not explain the age differences, and also the genetic polymorphisms. Also, apomictic species, sibling species, and cryptic species could not be explained according to biological species concept. Next came the evolutionary species concept. According to this, Simpson said that species are a lineage evolving separately from others and with its own evolutionary role and tendencies. So I have already explained it earlier. I am again saying that a species, according to the evolutionary species concept, a species is a lineage that has evolved from an ancestor, and this new lineage which has evolved from the ancestor is a new species, and it has its own evolutionary role and it has own evolutionary tendencies to give birth to a new species. But this concept is applicable only in case of isolated population and incipient species, and it cannot be applied to a single species. So later came the ontological species concept. This ontological species concept was given by Christopherson. He said, or he proposed, that a species is a single lineage of ancestral descendant sexual populations genetically integrated by historically contingent events of interbreeding. So here again, a species is a single lineage. I mean, it is a lineage from the descendant, from the ancestor, but it is genetically integrated. That means it has its own genetical composition, and this genetical composition is very different from the members of other species due to the event of interbreeding. Means no two members of two different species can interbreed with each other. So these means barrier in interbreeding gives rise to the genetical differences in different types of species, and it is all about the evolutionary species concept. So with this we come to the end of the different types of species concept. I think all the doubts about the what is species and what are the different types of species or what are the different types of species concept has been cleared. And if it is cleared, if you have liked this video, if you understood the subject matter, then do like, share and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get the notifications of the more upcoming videos. And this is all for today. Thank you.